what it means to be infected with HIV has changed. Research, new medicines, and technology have given HIV-positive people longer, healthier lives. High-risk individuals can better protect themselves.
It's a very different reality today than it was 25 or 30 years ago. The early days of the HIV/AIDS epidemic in New York City it was a very, very scary time. There wasn't effective treatment, and people often didn't know exactly what transmitted it. And most people in the early days who contracted HIV did end up passing away shortly after being diagnosed. And those were not those were deaths that often involved a lot of suffering and a lot of pain.
It's spreading so quickly that doctors now say it's a national epidemic.
90% of the cases have turned up in New York and 6 other cities. It is spreading at an alarming rate.
Researchers offer little hope for future victims because no one knows what causes AIDS or how to cure it.
722 cases of AIDS have been reported in New York City since the beginning of the outbreak.
Almost half of those diagnosed so far have died.
And today, New York leads the way once again by raising the bar and saying we will not stop until the AIDS epidemic is part of the past.
In 2014, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced the Ending the Epidemic Initiative, an ambitious 3-point plan to end the HIV/AIDS epidemic in New York State by 2020. The plan had 3 steps: making HIV-positive people aware of their status, linking them to life-extending health care, and keeping high-risk HIV-negative people protected.
The signs that we use for testing. We do right here. We have this area and the back area as well. Every time we do a test, we give it to clients.
Erica Hidalgo focuses on step 1.
The van is, our number van, super girl, you could say, She's doing the job for us. And the purpose of the mobile unit is to go from locations to locations all around the community, all around the different boroughs, to get people to get tested for HIV and try to help them and educate them about HIV, PrEP, and Hep C, as well as STDs.
If an individual does test positive, step 2 is to link them to care.
We have primary care for people living with HIV, so that involves having a regular medical care provider who prescribes you treatment, does your labs to make sure that your viral load is at a good level. We want to try to get everyone to undetectable, because when you're undetectable, not only are you very healthy, but you also cannot transmit HIV to other people through sexual contact.
Step 3. If they test negative, they have the option to use something known as PrEP.
We'll take you through an overview of PrEP with PrEP 101.
So PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylactics. It's a form of prevention, such as like with the condom and stuff like that, and abstinence, and those are just preventative measures. But with PrEP, as of right now, the only existence of PrEP that's available on the market that's FDA approved is the pill form.
Truvada, it's been on the market for some time, but now for the first time, it's been approved as what's being called a prevention drug.
PrEP was approved by the FDA in 2012. If taken daily, in varying measures, it can protect you from contracting HIV. Not surprisingly, after it became available, the use of PrEP skyrocketed. Data show disparities in populations who use PrEP. In New York City, Black patients were 40% less likely to receive PrEP than white patients. This is alarming because Black people make up over 40% of new HIV diagnoses.
It's a privilege to be able to be on PrEP. And what I mean by that is that it's a privilege to be at a point in your life where the only thing you have to worry about is getting on PrEP. One of the challenges is that how can we educate the community and encourage the community to be able to access PrEP, even though we know that the community is high risk.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Ashwini Hardikar works at Lorde, a community health center focused on the LGBT community and one of the largest PrEP providers in the state.
The thing that gets tricky for a lot of people, the access part, is how to pay for it, because PrEP is an expensive medication and PrEP care is expensive because you have to go in about every 3 months to get your labs done, and that can easily be a few $100s to see a medical provider.
Without insurance, PrEP can cost about $1,300 per month. Then there's the added expenses of office visits and lab work. But most insurance companies cover at least part of the drug's cost, and there are programs through pharmaceutical companies and city departments of health that can help make the medication affordable or even free.
You know, you have to prove income, you have to prove residency, sometimes you have to provide a tax, document, you have to get a medical provider to sign it, you have to fax it, then you have to follow up. So it's very daunting for an average person who doesn't have a lot of experience doing this to do it on their own.
Even if an eligible participant is able to make it through that process, it is difficult for many people to commit to taking the daily PrEP pill.
Homelessness, they're dealing with job placement and all of these other issues. So PrEP isn't really seen as the most important thing for them.
The Harlem Prevention Center is testing an injectable version of PrEP in a study jointly funded under the National Institutes of Health. The study will help find an alternative way to administer PrEP for those who find it difficult to take the daily pill.
We're doing the clinical trial studies for the injectable version, and we actually have
Jaron Cook works in outreach, recruiting candidates for the study.
We pretty much go any and everywhere. We go throughout the 5 boroughs. We are looking, because of the demographics of our study, we are looking for high-risk populations because there's been a lot of research done where people are having adherence issues.
The study is looking for a specific demographic.
Gay, bisexual, transgender, and MSM. So we're pretty much looking for those who may be engaging in sexual activity but aren't always using protection. We really are looking for people who are having more than just one partner or who are not in a monogamous relationship because those are the ones that are considered quote-unquote high risk.
To recruit these people, Cook attends events with other health advocacy groups, but he also goes to more discreet locations.
So there are events where there may be a party, a sex party, or a meet and greet event where if we find out about it, we will, see if we can show up at the venue and get permission from the host to pass along our information. People are very hesitant to invite us in because their events are confidential and their events are more for pleasure, but we're there for a different reason.
Cook has been successful taking his outreach efforts online.
We do a lot of online and social media recruitment. One app particularly that we have an ad running on currently is Grindr. And from there we've yielded maybe 60 to 70% of our participants from those dating apps. So that's just one of the most beneficial aspect that we're using, or avenues that we're using for recruitment.
Cook is working with a company to develop condom wrappers that promote their study. He wants to use eye-grabbing images.
Like, if you're at a bar and you see that, are you not going to grab it? You're going to grab that condom. You're going to be like, what is this about? You're going to grab it. You're going to want to see what are they doing, like why are they touching each other.
The study began in December 2016, and results are expected in 2021. 28 people are currently participating, with a total of 65 participants the goal. The ETE dashboard displays metrics for different targets. The test data shows New York State is ahead of its 2016 target for Medicaid recipients using PrEP, but behind the 2016 goal for reducing new HIV infections and suppressing viral loads. Health advocates agree that tackling the persistent HIV epidemic takes different approaches for different people. If New York is successful, the state will prove what can happen when policies, resources, and funding are combined in just the right way. For Stony Brook News, I'm Dara Smith.